Okay, welcome, welcome, welcome. I hope everybody had a super duper weekend. Wow, we've got today, we have got Wednesday, and then we're back into a hybrid scenario. So I will be talking to you a little bit about that schedule, just so you have an idea of what the expectations will be for this class going forward. But this is what today looks like. This is what we're going to be doing. We're going to, just a couple reminders. Obviously, we talked about when the end of Try 2 is, and we'll take a look at a calendar that'll help you kind of organize that here in just a minute. Your World War II flip grid is going into the grade book tomorrow. So make sure that you are paying attention to your due dates there. Speaking of due dates, that best years video was supposed to be turned in by Friday, but I'm going to be putting it into the grade book today. And I think that there was only about half of you that had gotten that in. Okay, so like I said, today is going to go pretty quick, but make sure that you are getting that best years video in if you would. I've got just a quick intro video that we are going to start out with. About the Cold War that kind of synthesizes all of the stuff, not everything that you need to know, but it just kind of gives a quick synthesis of what the Cold War was all about. We'll play a little Quizlet Live to get ready for the term quiz, which is coming up on Wednesday. Okay. And that's basically what today will be. And I will stick around at the end of class if anybody has any questions about the flip grid or anything like that. But before we even get into that video, let's take a look at what that schedule is going to look like for the next couple of weeks here. Because as we said, this is going to be the end of the trimester coming up here on March 4th. Now, we are right here on February 8th. So basically, you've got your typical full distance schedule until the end of this week, and then we're coming back next week with a hybrid model. Now, on our previous hybrid model, like when we started out this trimester, we were on a hybrid model, and I was only seeing any particular student one day a week. So I was only really seeing you and only holding you accountable to attendance for one day a week. Okay. Now on this hybrid schedule, what we're going to do is I'm going to take attendance twice a week. And some of you might look at that and go, well, how the rip are you going to do that when you only have half of the students, or actually less than half, on any particular day that you're seeing? Well, like when we come back on the 16th, okay, we're going to start out with even classes. So you're going to have even classes on a Tuesday. That's going to be weird. Okay, even classes on a Tuesday. So if you're in cohort 1, okay, you're going to be in person with your even classes. We are still having all of our even classes that day. Okay, so if you are a cohort 2 person, you will be meeting with us online as I am meeting with the cohort 1 kids in class. So it's not like you're going to have to sit there throughout the entire class period as I'm teaching the kids that are in class that day. It's just going to be a quick 10, 15-minute check-in. Maybe we'll play some Quizlet Live. Maybe all I'm going to do is just check in with you to make sure that you understand what we're doing that day, so that technically we're getting 2 meeting dates every week for those next 3 weeks. Hopefully that makes sense. So whatever we're completing in class, okay, like if you are physically in class that day, you will be able to do that even if you are in the opposite cohort. So if you're cohort 1 and we're in an even class, right? This is hour 2, we're meeting in class. And if you're a cohort 2 person, you should be able to meet with we need the first part of the class period via Google Meet. We'll meet for 10, 15 minutes. If you have any questions about what we're doing that day, that is the time to ask and just kind of do a little check-in. Then I'll cut the online people loose and I'll spend my time with the kids that are in class. Does that make sense? So essentially, we will be following like the same schedule where we're meeting twice a week. Okay, and whether you're in person or online shouldn't really matter. So that's what that is going to look like. Ms. Halverson, did I miss anything there? Does that make sense to everybody? Does anybody have any questions there?
Sounds good to me.
Okay. Awesome. So that's what that looks like. Okay. So quick little intro video about the Cold War. If you already got your if you already completed the best years, then you already have a decent intro. And I should have played this little video last time, but I'm going to do that right now. It'll go really quick, and then we'll play a little bit of Quiz It Live, and then it's going to be a quick day here, folks. I will stick around at the end here, but here we go on to the video.
Moby? Still not talking to me, huh? Well, I guess I'll just have to do this movie all by myself. Dear Tim and Moby, what was the Cold War? Did it happen during winter? From Squid. First off, the Cold War had nothing to do with temperature. And it wasn't exactly a war either. It was a 40-year standoff between the United States and the Soviet Union. Oh, so we're talking now? The Soviet Union was the country that included Russia, the Ukraine, and a bunch of other countries too. The United States and the Soviet Union were allies in World War II. But after the war, the US and other Western nations thought that the Soviets, led by the dictator Joseph Stalin, would try to spread communism all over the world. Well, communism is an economic system where all wealth is distributed evenly to everybody. Yeah, it sounds good in theory, but it gives a lot of power to the government. So communist countries like the Soviet Union and China tend to become dictatorships. The Soviet Union didn't do much to help its image. In 1948, it limited access to the city of Berlin, Germany, and didn't let anyone in or out. Eventually, Germany was split in two. East Germany became a communist state, while West Germany was a democracy. The city of Berlin was also divided. The Soviets built the Berlin Wall to keep people from coming into or leaving communist East Berlin. The wall became a symbol of Soviet oppression and the Cold War in general. Winston Churchill, the British Prime Minister, said that due to Soviet oppression, an Iron Curtain had descended across Europe, and the name caught on. President Harry S. Truman began the U.S. policy of containment to stop the spread of communism. Containment included 3 different approaches. First, the Marshall Plan gave $13 billion to help Europe rebuild after World War II. The idea was that European countries who accepted U.S. aid would be unlikely to ally themselves with the Soviet Union. Second, the U.S. followed with the Truman Doctrine. It was a promise to supply military and economic aid to any country struggling to create or maintain a democracy. Third, the U.S. established NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. It was a military alliance between the U.S., Canada, and various Western European countries. But in all fairness, the Soviet Union had good reason to distrust the West. For one thing, the U.S. had invented and used the extremely destructive atom bomb at the end of World War II. The Soviets feared America would use this new weapon to control the rest of the world. You're right, a few years after World War II, the Soviets developed their own nuclear weapons. It wasn't long before an arms race started. The Soviets had to build more and more nuclear weapons to counter the U.S., and vice versa. People all over the world lived in fear of an all-out nuclear war between the two superpowers. It's kind of weird, but nuclear weapons may have actually prevented a U.S.-Soviet war. Both sides knew that a full-scale nuclear war would have no winner. Right, the only winning move was not to play. That's why it was called a Cold War, because it never really erupted into a real war between the U.S. and the Soviets. But in 1950, America fought a war in Korea to contain communism. The U.S. was worried about the influence of Communist China, led by Mao Zedong. In fact, many other wars between 1950 and 1990, such as the Vietnam conflict, were really part of the Cold War. Yep, that's true. The Cold War was partially responsible for getting humans into space. The U.S. and Soviet Union both spent billions of dollars on rockets and satellites. Each side wanted to win the space race. You can find out more about that in our Apollo Project movie. Anyway, in the 1980s, the Cold War began to end. The Soviet economy wasn't strong enough to hold the USSR together. In 1989, the Berlin Wall fell, and soon communist governments in Eastern Europe were being overturned. Finally, in 1991, the Soviet Union collapsed and broke up into distinct democratic countries. That's why people say the US won the Cold War. But really, everybody won when it ended. It cost a lot of human lives while it was going on. What's this? An I'm sorry card? Ah, shucks, I'm sorry too.
Okay. Would everybody right now go to Quizlet.live? We're going to review the terms without the pictures so that you're ready for that term quiz later in the week. Okay. Quizlet.live. Okay, give you about 30 seconds to get in there if you haven't done so already. All right, here we go. 3 rounds. And they're racing. All right, here we go. Round 2, and they're racing. This is it, folks. This one's for all the Tostitos, and they're racing. All right, folks. Okay. Well, I know that that was really quick today. But like I said, I think that you guys have